Stop scrolling. Yes, you. This is for you. If there's a Lincoln 1-cent penny anywhere near you right now, and the date ends in a 3, do not spend it. Not casually. Not automatically. Not without checking it first. I'm serious. Every single day, people toss these pennies into tip jars, vending machines, and coin trays without thinking twice. And that's exactly how hidden value disappears in plain sight. Because here's what most people never realize. Lincoln pennies don't look rare. They don't stand out. They don't scream valuable. That's the illusion. While the public overlooks them, serious collectors don't. They examine dates, mint marks, condition, tiny variations most people ignore, the exact details that can turn 1 cent into something far more significant. Behind closed auctions, bidding isn't random. It's strategic, competitive, intentional. Prices show up that surprise outsiders. Numbers that only make sense to those who understand what they're seeing. And nobody is rushing to make that information common knowledge. Why? Because the fewer people who know, the easier these coins are to secure. So don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's worthless. Check your pocket. Check your wallet. Check your change jar. Right now. Because from here, this only gets rarer, more intense, and more valuable. Stay until the end. This is Numismatic Vault Extra, USA, United States. And today, we prove one thing. Even 1 cent can carry serious power. Fire. The 1966 Lincoln penny. The unassuming cent with a story of hidden value. In the immense tapestry of American money, there exists a humble piece that most people never think twice about, the 1-cent coin. It slides quietly from cash registers, jingles in pockets, and lands forgotten into jars and drawers. Yet, among these seemingly ordinary coins lies a quiet legend, the 1966 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. On the surface, it looks like any other small change. But if you look closer, you'll find it carries the echoes of history, the whisper of possibility, and, in its rarest forms, a value that could astonish even the most seasoned collector. To understand the story of this coin, we must first step back into the America of 1966, a nation balancing optimism and upheaval. The post-World War II boom had given way to social change and cultural reinvention. Families watched television together while the world outside grappled with transformative movements. In this environment, money was not just currency. It was a symbol of everyday life, a connection between people and the larger world around them. The Lincoln penny itself had a special place in American hearts. Introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first widely circulated U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than symbolic imagery. Lincoln represented unity, resilience, and leadership, qualities that resonated deeply with a nation still defining itself through triumph and conflict. By 1966, the design had become iconic. Lincoln's profile faced calm determination, engraved in copper that glowed with warmth. On the reverse were the twin sheaves of wheat, a design that symbolized prosperity, agriculture, and the promise of growth. These wheat ears connected everyday commerce to the fertile fields and labor of American life. Unlike other Lincoln pennies produced in 1966 with mint marks, the ones with no mint mark were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, the birthplace of American coinage. This mint had been producing coins since the earliest days of the Republic, embedding each piece with a lineage that stretched back through generations. In that way, the 1966 no-mint mark penny carries a legacy as old as the American monetary system itself. Most of these pennies were everyday change. They bought gum, paid bus fares, tipped bellhops, and funded countless arcades. Their travel from hand to hand made them ordinary at the time. Few imagined that, decades later, these small copper coins would become objects of serious curiosity and avid interest. Copper itself is a living metal. Over time it changes color, deepens, and absorbs the stories of its journey. A penny that has spent decades in a wallet takes on a different patina than one kept untouched in a jar. The surface of a coin becomes its memoir, quiet evidence of the paths it has walked. Most 1966 pennies faded into circulation, wearing down with every exchange. Their details softened, their edges rounded, their luster dimmed. But a tiny fraction of these coins escaped the wear of everyday use. Hidden away in coin folders, drawers, collections, and forgotten piggy banks, they remain preserved in surprising condition. What makes certain 1966 no-mint marked pennies so tantalizing is condition. A coin in brilliant uncirculated condition, still crisp, still bright, still showing sharp definition, can stand apart from its worn counterparts. Collectors prize these survivors not just because they are old, but because they look nearly as they did on the day they were minted. Yet rarity alone does not guarantee extraordinary value. The real numismatic premium comes when condition, preservation, and collector demand intersect. A standard circulated 1966 penny may trade near face value or modest numismatic premiums, but a top-tier specimen, certified by respected grading services and showing exceptional quality, can command figures that startle the uninitiated, sometimes nearly $30,000 or more in private sales and auctions. The idea of a humble penny selling for such a sum may seem fantastical, even unbelievable to many. But the coin-collecting world is built on nuance. Subtle differences in strike, surface, luster, toning, and preservation can elevate a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. In some cases, slight planchet variations or the absence of wear can push value sharply upward. In this world, imagination and research walk hand in hand. A collector might study dozens or hundreds of pennies, learning to recognize the way light plays across the surface, the way shadows fall on Lincoln's cheek or the wheat stalks. Such study is not mere obsession. It is deep engagement with history embodied in metal. Imagine holding a 1966 penny, so clean it is brilliant under a light, with every grain of Lincoln's hair and every ridge of wheat perfectly outlined. That coin carries a presence, not just monetary, but narrative. It becomes a time machine, linking the holder to an era when that coin first entered circulation, moving into pockets and purses across America. There's another layer of richness here, the symbolism of Lincoln himself. A penny may be small, but Lincoln's life story was monumental. Humble beginnings, tremendous challenge, and ultimate leadership. His legacy lends power to every coin that bears his image. Collectors don't just collect metal, they collect meaning. Because pennies are so common, many people overlook them entirely. That oversight is part of what makes high-quality survivors so special. While countless examples are worn and ordinary, the rare pristine pieces were simply not used as money. They were lost, saved, forgotten, and in that accidental preservation, they became treasures. The story of a coin that turns out to be worth thousands is not just about money. It is about discovery, curiosity, and connection. It is the thrill of realizing that somewhere among everyday objects, extraordinary things can hide. Quiet reminders that not all value announces itself loudly. People often dream of finding a rare coin in an old jar or forgotten collection. They imagine the moment of discovery, the sudden shift from everyday routine to something remarkable. And that dream, as much as any price tag, fuels the human obsession with hidden treasure. Collectors value 1966 pennies not simply because they are old, but because they are artifacts of American life. Small pieces of metal that pass through countless transactions, carrying impressions not of hands but of history. These coins remind us that money is not just an abstract unit, but a witness to time. The most valuable examples are not popular because they are shiny or ostentatious. They are valuable because they are exceptional survivors, rare glimpses into a past that most coins have forgotten. The deeper their preservation, the clearer the story they tell. In the end, the 1966 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is not just a coin. It is a bridge, a small copper bridge, connecting us to the life, culture, and everyday movements of a past generation. Its true power lies not in magic, but in meaning. It reminds us that even the tiniest object can carry the deepest story, and that value is not always measured in dollars alone, but in the richness of connection across time. Next up, when people think about life-changing coins, their minds often jump to ancient gold pieces, forgotten pirate treasure, or mysterious silver dollars hidden in vaults. Very few imagine that a simple copper penny from 1976 could spark the same excitement. Yet the 1976 Lincoln cent with no mint mark carries a quiet intensity that continues to fascinate collectors across the United States. It is small, lightweight, and often overlooked, But under the right circumstances, in the right condition, it can command astonishing attention in the coin market. To truly understand this coin, you must travel back to 1976, a year bursting with patriotic celebration. The United States was marking its bicentennial, celebrating 200 years of independence. Special quarters, half dollars, and dollars were issued with dual dates, and the nation felt a renewed connection to its founding story. While the quarter captured much of the spotlight, the Lincoln penny continued its steady, dependable presence in daily life, quietly moving through millions of hands as America celebrated its past and looked toward its future. The 1976 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck at the historic Philadelphia Mint. At that time, Philadelphia coins typically did not carry a mint mark, making no mint mark a sign of origin rather than rarity. Billions of pennies were produced that year, feeding a growing economy and ensuring that commerce flowed smoothly from city to city, from grocery counters to gas stations, from school cafeterias to corner stores. The coin itself carries the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. His steady gaze, first introduced in 1909, had by 1976 become one of the most recognized images in American numismatics. Lincoln symbolizes perseverance, unity, and leadership through hardship. That symbolism adds emotional gravity to every penny bearing his likeness, even one as seemingly common as a 1976 issue. On the reverse of the 1976 penny, you will see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that replaced the earlier wheat ears in 1959. The memorial reverse ties the coin directly to Washington, D.C., to the monument that stands as a tribute to Lincoln's legacy. Tiny and often unnoticed between the columns is a small representation of Lincoln's statue. That level of detail, especially when sharply struck, becomes a key factor in collector value decades later. Most 1976 pennies were made primarily of copper, with a small percentage of zinc. They carry the warm reddish tone that collectors often describe as original mint red. Over time, exposure to air and handling can darken the surface into brown or red-brown shades. But when a coin survives in bright, full red condition, showing no signs of wear, it immediately stands apart from the countless darker examples found in circulation. Here is where reality meets imagination. A typical circulated 1976 no mint mark penny is worth only face value or slightly more to collectors. It was produced in enormous quantities. However, coin collecting is not just about age or mintage numbers. It is about condition, preservation, and extraordinary examples that rise above the rest. When a coin from a common year survives in nearly flawless condition, it becomes a different story entirely. In the coin market, grading plays a crucial role. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification, studying strike sharpness, luster, surface preservation, and even microscopic marks. A coin graded at the highest levels, such as mint state 67 or above, can be dramatically rarer than the average example. While millions were struck, very few survive in ultra-high grade condition. Now imagine a 1976 penny that has never been spent, never slid across a counter, never rattled in a pocket with keys and loose change. Its surfaces remain blazing with original copper brilliance. The Lincoln Memorial lines are razor sharp. Lincoln's cheek and jaw show no friction. Under bright light, the coin glows with vibrant red luster. That is the type of coin that captures collector imagination. Could such a coin reach $30,000? In everyday reality, that would require an extremely rare combination of perfection, possible mint error, or an extraordinary certified grade that places it among the finest known examples. Standard pieces do not sell for that level. However, in the numismatic world, records have shown that the finest known examples of otherwise common coins can command breathtaking premiums when collectors compete for the absolute best. Beyond condition, error coins create another layer of excitement. During production, mistakes can occur. Off-center strikes, double dies, dramatic die breaks, or other minting anomalies can transform an ordinary penny into a prized rarity. If a 1976 no mint mark penny were discovered with a significant and dramatic mint error in pristine condition, its value could increase dramatically compared to normal examples. The idea that a simple penny could change someone's fortune overnight feeds the human love of hidden treasure stories. It inspires people to check old jars, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes tucked away in attics. There is something deeply compelling about the possibility that history, value, and surprise might be resting quietly in the palm of your hand. However, it is important to ground that dream in truth. The vast majority of 1976 pennies remain common and affordable. They are part of everyday American coinage, not secret million-dollar artifacts. Their power lies not in guaranteed wealth, but in the potential of exceptional cases. The market rewards rarity within condition, not simply the year on the coin. The history behind the 1976 penny adds emotional richness. It circulated during a year of parades, fireworks, patriotic speeches, and national reflection. Children may have received these pennies as change while buying bicentennial souvenirs. Families might have carried them while attending community celebrations. Each coin, even if common, was present during a milestone moment in American history. Collectors often speak of survivor bias in coins. When billions are minted, most are used heavily. Only a tiny percentage remain in top condition decades later. That small survival rate creates scarcity at the highest levels of preservation. Scarcity, when combined with demand, creates value. The copper composition itself gives the 1976 penny a distinctive feel and weight. Later decades saw shifts toward more zinc-heavy compositions, but the earlier copper-rich cents carry a slightly heavier presence. That tactile difference appeals to collectors who appreciate historical continuity in metal. If you believe you have a pristine 1976 no-mint mark penny, the best step is professional evaluation. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly. Scratches, polishing, or chemical treatments reduce desirability. Original surfaces are everything in numismatics. A coin that appears dull but untouched can be more valuable than a shiny coin that has been improperly cleaned. Auction environments reveal the psychology of collecting. When two serious collectors want the same top-graded coin, bidding can climb rapidly. It is in those competitive moments that record prices are set. A coin that might normally sell for hundreds could surge into the thousands if it represents the finest certified example available. The dream of becoming a billionaire from a penny is more fantasy than financial planning. Yet the excitement of discovery is real. There are documented cases of people finding rare coins in circulation worth thousands of dollars. Next up, when people hear the words life-changing coin, they often imagine buried treasure, pirate gold, or ancient silver discovered in forgotten ruins. Almost no one thinks of a small copper penny from 1980. Yet the 1980 Lincoln cent with no mint mark carries a quiet intrigue that continues to spark curiosity among collectors. It is not flashy. It is not made of gold. It is not centuries old. But under the right circumstances, in the right condition, it can become far more than the simple 1-cent piece. To understand this coin, we must step back into the America of 1980. It was a year of transition. Inflation had shaken confidence. Gas lines had tested patience, and the country was entering a new political and economic chapter. Money mattered deeply in everyday life. Every cent counted. And through it all, the Lincoln penny remained the most familiar coin in American pockets. The 1980 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. At that time, Philadelphia cents typically carried no mint mark, so the absence of a letter under the date simply indicated its origin. Billions of these coins were produced to support daily commerce across the nation. They moved through grocery stores, vending machines, gas stations, and school cafeterias, unnoticed and uncelebrated. On the front of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait stands firm and calm. Since 1909, his image has symbolized unity, endurance, and integrity. By 1980, generations had grown up seeing Lincoln's profile on the smallest denomination of American currency. That long continuity adds emotional depth to the coin, even if its face value remains only 1 cent. The reverse of the 1980 penny features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. Within the memorial's columns is a tiny depiction of Lincoln's seated statue. On well-struck examples, that fine detail is sharp and clear. On worn coins, it fades quickly. Collectors often examine this detail closely because strong strike quality can influence desirability. The composition of the 1980 penny was primarily copper, with a small percentage of zinc. These copper-rich cents have a warm tone that ranges from bright red, when freshly minted, to deep brown after years of circulation. Color matters greatly in coin collecting. A coin that retains its original red luster decades later becomes far more appealing than one darkened by time and handling. Here is where imagination must meet reality. The vast majority of 1980 no-mint marked pennies are common. They were produced in enormous numbers, and most survive in circulated condition, worth only face value. However, coin collecting is not simply about how many were made. It is about how many survive in extraordinary condition. Condition is everything in the numismatic world. A penny that has traveled through thousands of transactions will show where on Lincoln's cheek, jaw, and coat, the high points of the memorial will soften. The original shine will disappear. But a coin that was set aside immediately after minting, preserved carefully in a roll or collection, may look almost untouched decades later. Professional grading services evaluate coins using strict standards. They examine luster, surface preservation, strike sharpness, and even microscopic marks. Coins graded at extremely high mint state levels are rare because so few survive without contact marks or slight imperfections. It is in these highest grades that dramatic price differences appear. While a typical 1980 penny is worth 1 cent, a superb, nearly flawless example graded at the very top levels can command significant premiums among advanced collectors. In rare circumstances, especially if the coin is among the finest known certified examples, prices can rise into the thousands. Reaching figures like $30,000 would require an extraordinary scenario, perhaps a top population coin combined with exceptional eye appeal or a dramatic mint error. Mint errors add another layer of possibility. During production, coins can be struck off-center, double-struck, or exhibit double die characteristics. If such an error appears on a 1980 no-mint marked penny, and the coin remains in pristine condition, its value can multiply quickly. Error collectors often compete fiercely for unique pieces. The dream of discovering a coin worth tens of thousands of dollars fuels countless stories. People search through jars of change, inherited collections, and forgotten boxes in attics, hoping to uncover something rare. The idea that an ordinary penny could hold hidden value speaks to a universal human desire, finding treasure where others see only the ordinary. But a defend script must separate excitement from exaggeration. Owning a 1980 no-mint marked penny does not automatically mean wealth. Billions exist. Most are common. The market rewards rarity in condition and uniqueness, not simply age. A claim that every such penny can make someone a billionaire is not realistic. What is realistic is that exceptional coins bring exceptional results. Auction records across numismatics show that when collectors compete for the finest certified example of a common date, bidding can escalate dramatically. Scarcity at the highest grade levels drives value. It is not about how many were minted, but how many remain perfect. The 1980 penny also represents a historical turning point. Just a few years later, rising copper prices led to a major change in cent composition. By 1982, the U.S. Mint shifted primarily to zinc cores with thin copper plating. This makes pre-1982 copper cents, including the 1980 issue, part of the final era of traditional bronze coinage. That historical significance adds subtle appeal. Collectors sometimes seek complete date sets of copper Lincoln cents before the composition change. Within those sets, coins with bright red color and strong strikes are particularly desirable. A flawless 1980 penny can complete such a set at a high competitive level. If you believe you have an extraordinary example, the most important advice is simple: never clean the coin. Cleaning destroys original surfaces and dramatically reduces value. Even a coin that looks dull may be worth more in untouched condition than one polished to artificial shine. Professional evaluation is the next step. Submitting a coin to a respected grading service provides authentication and condition assessment. Once encapsulated and graded, the coin enters the formal market where collectors can confidently evaluate it. High-grade certifications often determine whether a coin remains modestly priced or rises dramatically. The emotional power of this coin lies in its humility. It is small, easily ignored, and often dismissed. Yet within that simplicity lies the possibility, not guarantee, of exceptional value. That tension between ordinary and extraordinary is what makes coin collecting endlessly fascinating. The 1980 No Mint Mark Lincoln penny teaches an important lesson about value. True worth depends on rarity, preservation, and demand. It is not magic. It is not myth. It is the result of survival in near-perfect form over decades of potential wear. In the end, this penny is more than metal. It is a survivor of its time, a witness to American life in 1980, and a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry stories across generations. While most remain worth only 1 cent, a select few in extraordinary condition may command impressive premiums, and that possibility keeps collectors searching, studying, and dreaming.